Today we are going to talk about who should be the next coach for the Kansas football Jayhawks. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Considering the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I'm going to talk about who should be the next head coach for the Kansas football Jayhawks because, yes, we could preview OU versus Kansas, but it's Kansas and nobody cares. I could tell you that Puka Williams Jr. has over 700 yards rushing, is averaging 5.9 yards per carry, and is Kansas's best player, and also its third highest rated commit ever. But nobody cares because it's Kansas. I could tell you Steven Sims Jr. had a 100-yard receiving day against Kansas State and is Kansas' leading receiver, but nobody cares because it's Kansas. I could tell you Joe Deneen is having an All-American season at linebacker, and he's been consistently the best player on Kansas' defense for every year he's been there, and nobody cared because it's Kansas. I could also tell you that Mike Lee is coming on as the next good defensive player for Kansas. He had 10 tackles against Kansas State. Nobody cares because it's Kansas. Because the facts about Kansas are just staggering going back to 2008, which is the last time they were any good. One of those is that David Beatty, good grief. This guy got fired last Sunday, which is the reason we're going to talk about who's going to be the next head coach. And then was told to finish out the season, which I gotta tell you, you ain't gonna fire me from my job and then say, oh yeah, can you do it until we find somebody else who's suitable to replace you? Hesh nah. I'm getting up out of here and you gonna pay me to sit on my couch. Just like they're paying Bobby Petrino out there in Louisville $14.1 million to get you to leave your job. By the way, Bobby Petrino doesn't make this list, so spoilers about who should be the next football coach for the Kansas football Jayhawks. But back to my man David Beatty. Bruh, it's rough. Because you've won 3 games this season, and that is half your win total for your entire tenure as the head coach at Kansas. My man has won 6 games in 46 games. That's bad. My man has also lost 32 of 34 conference games in the Big 12. That's also bad. Matter of fact, the last time that Kansas won a true conference road game, October 4th. 2008. My goodness. Bro, Kansas has dropped 44 straight true conference road games, and it gets worse. And I didn't know it could get worse, but it does get worse because I'm going to lay this one on you. At the University of Oklahoma, we were legit spoiled. Like, I know that we deserve to be spoiled because that gets into another argument that I just don't have time to get into today because this is YouTube. But Oklahoma is ranked number 5 in the 2019 team recruiting rankings. That's real good. And it could get better before it's all said and done. That's another video. That's not today's video. Oklahoma has 2 5-star recruits in the 2019 class. That is actually twice as many total recruits as the Kansas football Jayhawks. Look at this. They got one dude committed to the 2019 class. There are 130 FBS teams. Somehow Kansas ranks numbers 173 in recruiting. Oklahoma, top of the pyramid, Big 12 recruiting. Kansas, I mean, there's a 10 spot because they can't throw through the floor, actually. My goodness. How can Kansas be so good at basketball and so actually bad at football? And now they brought in a football-minded athletic director in Jeff Long, who said, I was really just looking for an opportunity to fire David Beatty, and I got my opportunity, and sorry, dog, I'm bringing in my own dude. Which just us to this part of the video, which is, yo man, who should be the next football coach for the Kansas football Jayhawks? And I say the Kansas football Jayhawks because we would not want to confuse them with basketball ever. However, the guy that seems to be the front runner for most folks, especially according to reports, is the one, Les Miles, the Mad Hatter. We all love us some Les Miles because he will say some off-the-wall stuff, but he will also recruit like all heck, and he will get you to a national championship caliber football team if you're LSU. And this Kansas ain't LSU. Kansas ain't even Oklahoma State. That's when Les Miles was there. Nah, dog. I would love to see Les Miles at Kansas, but that would be selfish on my part and yours because we like us some Les Miles, not necessarily because we think Kansas is going to get better because Les Miles is the head coach. Do you see the rebuilding job that would be ahead of him? He would need one of them Jimbo Fisher type contracts to take that job because we're not talking about a year or even 2 years. We're talking about 3-4 years of straight up recruiting. It is a long way back. It is longer back for Kansas than it is for Tennessee. And you see what they got to work with. Shout out to Tennessee, though. Kentucky last week and Auburn early in the year. And it's even further back for Kansas than it is Arkansas. We got so many other bad football teams that are ahead of Kansas in the bad football team categories that is somewhat sickening. And you would be crying if you were a Kansas football fan, of which we know that there are actually none other than those kids' parents. Shout out to those kids' parents because they the real MVPs. They some real ones because they are watching this noise and they are showing up to football games to root on their kids and watch them get just drove. But as much as it'd be cool for Les Miles to be the head coach at Kansas, here's the folks I actually think should be considered for the job, and I think Jeff Long is actually considered them too because he actually had to go to the Twitters to tell the rest of the fan base, yo, man, I'm not actually considering some of these names that y'all have heard. And I think that was mostly in response to DJ Durkin, because somebody thought that the dude who was in charge of a football program for which a player died because the lack of control was staggering and the sheer arrogance of Durkin and his staff is staggering to agree that that dude, along with Zach Smith, who really got into it on Twitter on Sunday, if you didn't see that, probably should never coach football ever again. Maybe not work with kids ever again, honestly. So he had to shoot that down. But you know who he wouldn't have to shoot down? Neal Brown at Troy. All Neal Brown has done is coached in the SEC and the Big 12, knows how to win football games, was the first team to actually go up there and upset Nebraska, get paid $1 million+ in the process for doing it. So they beat them and then took their wallet. I know the dude in NC State, Dave Doreen, is also getting some run, but I don't think he's going to lead that job. And I wouldn't necessarily want that dude coming over to Kansas because he would expect things to be running like football team. And that ain't what they got at Kansas right now. I know there's some folks that believe that Bret Bielema would be a good dude to come get that job because he was one of Jeff Long's head coaches. But hey, man, he been down that road with Bert. I don't think that's what he wanted to do, and I bet that Bret Bielema is having a lot of fun in the NFL. Most coaches that go to the NFL do have a lot of fun going to the NFL. And then when I saw Troy Calhoun and Jeff Monken, nah, man. You don't want a service academy coach coming in to coach a big-time college football program because, like it or not, that's what Kansas is. No, the dude that they should be looking for is none other than Seth Littrell. Muskoge's own Seth Littrell. 2 reasons. Seth Littrell is not just an up-and-coming head coach. He's got this offensive coordinator thing figured out down there in North Texas. And he was a grad assistant at Kansas. He knows how Kansas works. He knows what he has to work with there. And you be bringing in another guy like Les Miles who has a national championship ring. With Seth Littrell's not only got a national championship ring, he was captain on that 2000 Oklahoma team. A lot of y'all remember this. And I know a lot of folks want Seth Littrell in their back pocket because Lincoln Riley is a plus 225 favorite to be the Cleveland Browns' next head coach. I don't think that's the dude to take that job. I think Lincoln Riley's going to stay right where he is. But since I get this question more often than not, I think Seth Littrell would be a nice dude to go, get close to if Lincoln Riley decided that he want to go to the NFL. Got ties there, runs the high-octane offense, knows what it means to win at Oklahoma. That'd be the guy that I start looking, but I don't think there's any reason to start looking because I think Lincoln Riley's here for the long haul. And by long haul, I mean at least until he wins a national title. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.